Okay, let's get started. This lab is to show you how we can use SSIS package to load the data from a flat file into our SQL Server database. So first of all, let's create our database in the SQL Server Management Studio. And please open the Management Studio. As you can see here, if you already installed the SQL Server in your local machine, then you can just use the local host and use the default authentication. Then you should be able to connect to your database. Since I haven't installed the SQL Server, so I need to uh, connect to the remote server. So I will do a little bit different from you. So I will highly recommend you install the SQL Server in your local machine since it will save you a lot of time. So as you can see here, we are connecting to the remote server. And you should be able to check the data from the zip file. Okay, so this is our database, and let's new a database for this SSIS lab. As I said, the remote server takes time to respond. Okay, so let's name our database as CMU retail sales. Click OK. Right now we got a brand new database. So let's check this. There should be no tables in it. Okay, so let's create new queries to create our dimension tables and then fact table. So you can get the script from our zip file or lab file. So let's copy all from the create dimension SQL and then run it. Do the same thing for the fact table. So copy the script from create fact and then paste and then run. Okay, so the script runs well. And let's refresh our database. Click the tables. Okay, it means that we have successfully created our dimension tables and then the fact table. And let's check whether there is something inside the dimension table. Okay, as you can see here, there's no data at all inside our dimension tables. Okay, so right now we have prepared our database. So let's open our Visual Studio to create our first SSIS package. Please bear with me because my Visual Studio is quite slow. Okay, so as you can see here, my Visual Studio is open. So let's create the SSIS package. So let's new a project. And as you can see here, we got the business intelligence templates, and what we need is the integration services. So let's click this one and then pick up the integration service project, and let's name this project as CMU retail sales, and click OK. Okay, sorry, give me a second. Okay, it should be okay because I forgot to delete my previous one. So right now we're going to the panel for the SSIS, and let's rename this package .dtsx file into CMU dimensions. Okay, as you can see on the left, we have the SSIS toolbox, and what we need to do is to drag and drop a data flow task in this control flow subtab. So what we are doing here is that we want to use the data flow task to load the data from a flat file into our database. Okay, so let's rename this data flow task to load pro.df. Yes, so as the name specified, we want to load the product data from the file into the product dimension table. Okay, so let's double click it, and we will enter into the data flow. And if you want to go back, you can just on the top you can just click the control flow subtab, and we can go back to the previous tab, previous panel. And if we click this data flow, then we'll go back to the load product in df. Since we only got one data flow task, so we can't switch it the data flow task here. But if we have multiple data flow tasks, then you should be able to switch it from this scroll bar. Okay, so next step, let's create the component to connecting to our flat file and then the database. So under the SSIS toolbox, let's scroll down to the source, other source, and since we are loading the data from a text file, let's drag and drop the flat file source. And then let's rename it to product file. So you can see there is an arrow sign. So what it means that, okay, we just created a new component, but we have nothing inside it. So let's double click it. And what we need to do right now is to new a flat file connection. And what we are going to connect is this file. So is this data product text file. So you can see here, so this is our data. Okay, so let's name it to product file. So this connection management name, product file. And then the final. So let's pick up the data product. So we don't need to change anything here. We can leave everything in default. And on the left, let's click the columns. So in this step, we will want to verify that all the data we need is loaded. Is loaded. So let's go back to here. Yep. So everything is fine. And let's go back to the general. So you notice that we have a column names in the first data row. We have ticket. So what if we untick it? Then let's go back to the columns, and you will see it. The column names will change to column 0, column 1, and then our first row will become the product ID, product name. So what this means is that whether we want to set the first row as our column name. Since we want it, so we need to enable it. So if you see here, our first row is the column names. So we need to tick this box, and then go back to the columns. Yeah, and for the advanced. So in this tab, it allows us to modify our data type, data length, and the other metadata for each column. So we don't need to worry about this right now. So we can leave everything in default, and then click OK. And then let's check the columns and check the error output. And we don't need to change anything here, so everything looks fine. Okay, then let's click OK. Then you will see the error sign disappears. And the next step, we need to create a destination to our database. So what we need is the OLEDB destination. Let's name it to product dimension. Product dimension. Okay, as you can see, we got the error sign. Since this is just an empty component and there's nothing in it. So before we configure it, let's link the product file to this destination, this dimension. Okay, and then let's double click it. Like before, since we don't have any OLEDB connection manager, so we need a new one. Okay, so this is my previous one, so let me delete it. Then let's new one from scratch. So for the server name, if you are using your local machine, so if you have installed the SQL Server in your local machine, then you can just use a local host and keep everything else default and try the test connection. If it succeeds, then it means that you don't need to change anything. But since I'm using the remote server, so I need to connect to my remote server. And use the SQL Server. So click the test connection to make sure that I have access to it. Okay, as you can see, the test connection succeeded. It means everything is alright. And let's select the database name. So remember that we just create a new one, CMU details, and we select this one. Okay, and test connection again. Okay, everything is good. So let's click OK and then go to the next step. Okay, click OK again. So you will see right now we have our connection manager. And for the data access mode, we keep the data table or view and then select the product dimension from the database. And then for the mappings. So let's check the mappings. So for this editor, it will just automatically match the name from the input column to the destination column. And so here we don't use product ID for the product key since we want to automatically generate the product key. So we ignore it. And since the active IND is for the slowly changing dimensions, and we are not using slowly changing dimension here right now, so we also ignore it. And then it looks good to me, so we are ready to go, and then click OK. Then you will see the error sign change to something else. Okay, see, change. So the error sign will change to the warning sign. So we can check what warning is here. So it means the warning message is the truncation may occur due to inserting data from data flow column something. So the reason why we got this warning is because that in our product file, so you can access the connection manager here. So let's right click our product files. So you can see in the advanced for the product name, our length is 50, right? And what if let's go back to our database and let's check what's the length for our product dimension. Click design. So as you can see here, for our product name, it just 30, so it didn't match. So that's why we got such warning. So if we want to fix this warning, it's easy. So what we need to do is just to change the column width here to match it to our database. So for the SKU is 15, for a brand is 30. Okay, SKU is 15, brand 30, category 15, department 15, and then click OK. So you will see another warning sign pop up in the product file. It's because the message is the external columns for product file are out of synchronization. So what we need to do is to synchronize it. So double click this product file, and then let's click yes to synchronize it. So we don't need to do anything here. So just click OK. And you will see it, the warning sign, the box warning sign disappear. Okay, so we are ready to go to next. Okay, so actually, we finished our first SSI. We are finished our first SSIS package. What we need to do right now is to start it. Since I'm using the remote server, so it will cost some time. So please bear with me to waiting for it to be finished. It's not frozen, it's running at the background. Okay, so as you can see, after it finished loading the data from the text file, and it tried to transfer the data into our database. Same reason, because I'm using the remote server, so it costs time to transfer the data from my local machine to the remote server. Okay, so let's go back to our management studio. And if we run the same script here, hooray! We got the existed records from the flat file, right? Okay, so it means our SSIS packages successfully load the data from the flat file, and then let's stop it. If we want to check the results, you can click this one, execution results, then you will see the process. What? The next step, what if we accidentally start this same data flow again? What will happen? Okay, so it finished processing the data in my local machine. Then it passing the data to the remote server. Okay, and then let's check our product dimension. We got 120 rows. So it means every time we run this data flow, it will load the data from the flat file. So it will just repeat what we have, right? So from the stage 1, and as you can see here, we got the identical one at the first. So actually this is not what we expected. So here, so it means this solution is not really what we expected. And then right now let's go to the next step to change this one to a slowly change dimension. Okay, so before doing that, let's clear our product dimension a bit. Okay, so let's make sure that there's nothing inside our product dimension. Okay, cool. So, and let's delete this destination. So instead of using the OEDB destination, what we need to use now is should be the slowly changing dimension, and it's under the common. So let's drag and drop the slowly changing dimensions, and let's change it to pro.scd. Rename it to pro.scd. Okay, as before, let's link our product file to the product.scd. And then right now we need to configure our product.scd. So after you double click it, then the slowly change dimension wizard will show up. And then let's click next. So as you can see here, since we already have a connection manager, it will just search it for you and set it as default. So we don't need to change it here. So, and then for the table overview, let's select the theme product. Okay, so it automatically populates the columns for us. So we don't need to change it here, but we need to change the key type. So the key type here, we need to change the SKU to the business key. So what does it mean here? It means because for the SCD change, we need to identify whether this record is the record that we wanted. So in this case, in the product, we need at least one column to identify whether this product is the changing product. So in this case, you can take the business key as the primary key. Okay, so after we select the business key, we can go to next. Here, let's just click, and click. So here you can see we got all the 5 dimension columns, and you can see the description here. What we need is the changing attribute and the historical attribute. So simply say, for the changing attribute is type 1 change, and historical attribute is for type 2 change. In this case, we need to set our brand category and department as the historical change, which is the type 2 change, and the product description and product name as the changing attribute. Okay, that's it. Let's click next. We don't need to change anything here, so go to next. So here is where our active IND works. So we use the active index as the index to determine whether this record is a active one or a expired one. We can use the default value that this wizard provide with us, but to make our life easier, we just use the 1 and 0. So if it's current, then we say it to 1, and if it's not, we say it to 0. Okay, and we're ready to go up next. Let's uncheck this enable in Faro member support, and then click next. Okay, look good, and then let's click finish. Then for this component, it will automatically populate the rest components for us, so we don't need to worry about. So we don't need to drag and drop the other components. So just bear with me. Okay, so as you can see here, it auto-populates everything for us. So there are 3 branch. One is for the SCD2, one is for SCD1, and then this one is if we add any new data, it will just directly flow from the storage change dimension to the union all, because we want to union both new records and with the SCD2 change. Okay, then we are ready to go. Let's click start. As you can see, the remote server is really slow. So I will highly suggest you to use your local machine to install the SQL Server and run this lab on your local machine. So as you can see, it's processing. Okay, we are almost there. So let me briefly explain what happens here. So for this storage changing dimension component, we will check whether one record is a new record, whether it's SCD1 change, or SCD2 change, or SCD1 change. Then it will disperse each record to its own branch. So since we don't have any data inside our product dimension, so we will get all the 60 new rows inside. So we will just only get one branch. Which one is this? Okay, then let's check our dimensions. Oh no, check our dimension table. As you can see here, we got our 60 rows back. Okay, and let's try to stop it. And let's try to run it again. Oops. You can see the process here if you want. So it has verify, it is percentage. Okay, so let's go back. So it has loaded data from our flat file, and then the product SCD is working. So it's trying to distributing everything. So you can see here, no new data, and no SCD2 change, and no SCD1 changes. So everything, it seems like it didn't load any data. So let's verify in our database. So as you can see, there's nothing changed in our database, and this is what we expect, right? We don't want duplicate data inside the dimension table. Okay, so let's stop it, and then let's see how the SCD2 change SCD2 SCD2 change works in this SSIS package. So let's do something here. So let's change our original data file to time1 and change this time2 to data product. So what we do here is, because we don't want to change our connection manager, so we just change the file. So we just try to simulate it. For the original data product file, we have changed something. Okay, so and then we are ready to start it again. while our data flow is running, so let me show you what's the difference between uh, our current data product to previous data product. So this is the difference. So actually we have 2 new records, and we have 3 records for SCD1 change, and we have 6 records for SCD2 change. So you can have a reference here. So since we got 2 new records, so we will have these two new records here. So it has processed these two records. Okay, so as you can see here, something has passed from here. See, so right now we have 3 branches. So for this one, we have 2 new records, which diet VC and VC0. And we have 3 records for the SCD1 change. So it's this 3. And we have 6 for SCD2 change. So they should be this 6. Okay, it looks good in our SSI package. Then what about our database? Let's check it and then run it. Okay, yes. So why we have 68 rows is because we got 2 new records. Then those 2 new records should be Visa 0 and Dia Visi. So it should be these 2. And then the other 6 are the SCD2 changes. Since for SCD1, we don't need to add any new columns, any new records, so it will just change. So it will be affected in the original records. So we don't need to add any new records. But for the SCD2 change, we need to add 6 new records. So in total, we will get 68 new records. Hope it explains. Okay, and then after we finish it, we can just stop it. And if you want to check the results, we can just go back to the execution results to see what happens at the background. So you can see here it took us 47 seconds to run. So I think that's all for the SSIS lab. You can download our SSIS zip file to play around with it, and you should also have a PDF instruction to play around with it. That's all. Thank you.